Welcome to the Business Owner Elevation Podcast, the show that's designed for coaches, consultants, and expert business owners that are looking to achieve higher levels of productivity and profitability, where we share battle-tested tactics and innovative ideas that guarantee to elevate your business rapidly. Brought to you from the award-winning Best UK Business Podcast in 2015. Without further ado, here's your hosts, Robert Dean Smith and Leon Street.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the SB Elevation Podcast. Elevation Nation, are you ready? We have another amazing guest waiting in the wings. But before that, you have myself, Leon Street, alongside
Robert Dean Smith, the first of Marketing Manifesto. Guys, how are you doing, Elevation Nation?
Woo. So we have been super busy over the past few weeks, and especially today, we literally just left the office working on our new upcoming master plan. And honestly, guys, if you see the stuff we're putting into our strategy right now, you'd fall off your chair. But let's take you into a different realm. Now, waiting in the wings, who do we have first of all, Rob? I just want you to welcome them to the call.
We've got a rock star. I mean, the very name, I gotta ask where the ancestral secondary surname comes from, but the very name, the one and only, the deadly dog, DAnna from across the pond.
Awesome. Doug, welcome to the show. How are you doing, Doug?
Hey, it's great here in rainy California.
Cool. It's really good to have you here, first of all. But what I'm going to do, Doug, just so our audience know who you are, I'm just going to go through your bio. So, guys, just for a minute or so, we're just going to shoot through this, just so you know who this superstar rock star is. So, it's Leon Street here with a very exciting guest, as we mentioned. And now, basically, we've been trying to get on the podcast for over a year, and Rob has been pursuing him.
Relentless.
He is the legendary direct response copywriter, Doug DAnna. A lot of people here in the UK may not know the name Doug DAnna, but Doug is a household name amongst the largest financial newsletter and advisory publishers in the United States. I'm talking about InvestorPlace. We've also got Cabot Heritage Corp, Money, Map Press. We've got Forbes, Newsmax. Honestly, the list goes on. And Boardroom, companies that together generate hundreds of millions of dollars through direct response copywriting. Here's what Chris Marrett, who worked with Doug for 15 years at the Senior VP of InvestorPlace Media, says. I have been extremely fortunate to have gotten to work with and learn from many of the great copywriters of our time, including Gary Benzavenga. We've got Gene Swartz. We've also got Gary Halbert and Clayton Makepeace. But for all the significant success I had with these legends, the simple fact is I made more money with Doug DAnna, a lot more. So time after time over our 15-year working relationship, Doug has proven himself to be a positioning and copywriting machine, making me look really smart by cranking out winner after winner and turning the toughest copywriting assignments I threw at him into direct marketing gold. Ka-ching. So pretty impressive. He's even won the endorsement of the greatest living copywriter, Gary Benzavenga, who considers Doug one of his ablest competitors. So it's no surprise that his copy is generating more than 1 million orders for products that range from $49 newsletters to 11,000 trading products, which is why it's taken us so long to get Doug on the show. I'm happy that we've caught him during the holidays where he's taken time off from his hectic schedule to spend some time with us today. Yeah. Doug, it's an absolute pleasure.
Mm-hmm. Well, pleasing pleasure to be on the line.
Welcome to the show.
Well, I'm ready. I love you guys' enthusiasm, so I'm going to just pick up on it and rock and roll along with you.
Awesome. Rob, over to you.
Okay, fantastic. So, Doug, the way that we like to always kick off our shows here is to start with what we call like an elevated success quote or a mantra or principle that kind of keeps you on track. And as in your word, as a world-class copywriter, I mean, that can sometimes be an extremely tough and lonely place. So give us what keeps you on point when you're doing what you do best.
Well, one of the benefits that I've had over the years is that because I've worked with so many people for so many years on so many projects, I've had the benefit of seeing 600, 700, 800 split run head-to-head copywriting tests that has allowed me to look into what works, what doesn't work, and why. And as a result, I've been able to just formulate my own kind of winning formula. And I I broke that formula down into what I call the bridge to your next breakthrough. And I have a graph that I'll gladly send to anybody who's listening to this at the end of the podcast. So it's called the bridge to your next breakthrough. And
I like that.
And I always say the bridge to your next breakthrough begins on your customer's side of the river. And it's founded on two things, what they want and what they believe. And it's supported. So if the pillars are what they want and what they believe, and the roadway is your copy, it's held like the suspension parts by your argument, your benefits, and your proof.
Wow.
And so, excuse me, most marketers don't get this, and they opt to build the bridge from their product side of the river, ignoring that the sales process begins with what your customer wants and not what you are selling. And when you think about it, it kind of only makes sense. Why would you waste your time trying to get your customer to want your product when you can make your product what your customer wants?
Yeah.
And so that would be my elevated success quote, that the bridge to your next breakthrough begins at your customer's side of the river.
That is so powerful the way you said that. The bridge to your next breakthrough is over the river from your customer, and that is so powerful. And you know what I really like about it as well? Like, it's kind of unusual because normally you have mantras and success quotes that are kind of, I don't know, not rah-rah-y, but that was just like, he would just take him on a journey, like a little movie, 1 minute movie script on a journey, and I could see this bridge, I could see the river, and I could see the breakthrough. So that's awesome.
I have a graphic that if somebody wants it, they can email me at DAnna, DOUGDANNA @mac.com. I will gladly send it to them. Just if you quote it, just be sure that hey, it came from Doug DAnna.
Sure. So, I'll definitely can I get a signed copy from you, Doug?
Sure.
I'll put that on the office.
I've got a great story on that too about the signed copy, but let's get back to this bridge to the breakthrough.
Yeah.
If you look at the two pillars in the middle that are holding this bridge up, the one pillar on the left is their wants, and the other one is their beliefs. So I always sit to myself when in these marketing meetings, and my mind is spinning like a top. I'm going, what do they really want? That's what most writers miss the mark. They're trying to sell a product and not focus on what they want. They don't drill down far enough to what they really want. Yeah. And what I mean by drilling, I mean drilling down and drilling back. Specifically, I mean back into the past. Your prospect, he's a product of his past. Everything that's ever happened to him before in his life is going to have to connect with your copy. So in order to get in tune with your reader, you got to identify with what he wants and have some founding in his past experience. And I learned this concept in college. Every day in my speech class, the teacher would continually drive home the point that we are communicating with people with just one moment in time. And it is at that moment that the people bring their past experience to the present as they react to your promotion. So in order to catch the people where they are at and understand what they truly want inside, then you gotta know where they're coming from. And that's the foundation of the breakthroughs that are built. And it's even more extremely difficult in the investment newsletter business, where we are selling financial leadership in the markets. Is simply, I am selling a hand to hold on to. And people buy, I'm trying to hit a moving target every day because they feel more confident today with the market going up than they feel when the market's going down. So you have to get the proper blend of fear and greed with what they want. And of course, everybody wants to make money and get rich, but Remember that second pillar of what they want? That second pillar is what they believe.
What they believe, yeah. So there's got to be some major believability factors in the way that you communicate in, whether it be copy, video, etc., etc. That's an awesome mantra, Doug. What I want to do is ask you a question. Now I'm going to ask you a series of questions, which really I want to roll out in terms of some of your stories that your experience will show and be able to highlight to our audience. But what I want to do is really just take you back to the beginning of how your journey as a freelance copywriter started, because I mean we had a brief conversation off air before, as I like to say, in the green room, and you was telling me about, you know, some of your highest grossing years in the industry. And because you've been in the industry for somewhere like 20, I think it's about 25 years now as a freelancer, I wanted to say, well, how did you get into it? Because there's, you know, we know that there's many people who understand that direct response or copy is an important element to developing their business. If they, especially those online, they hear it all the time. You gotta have a good copy. Gotta have a good copy. But some of them don't realize the foundation of, you know, where some of this stuff that's happening online has actually come from. So what I'd like you to do is speak to that, but at the same time, tell us how you got into this whole freelance copywriting industry.
This is a 3-hour podcast, right?
Not quite, Doug. I know you like to talk, but just a short and sweet version of how you kind of got into this, and then we'll talk about some stories, because I like the story about, you know, the 5 fish and 2 loaves. I think we need to share that with the audience, and your revolutionary breakthrough concepts when you were getting new gigs.
Okay. So let me. Okay, my background is founded in a degree in speech communication. I was voted, guess, most talkative in high school. And dropped in, and one of my nicknames for my Latino friends is habla demasiado, which means you talk too much. So the degree in speech communication was perfect for me, because you got to think back. Today you have to have like a specialized degree. Back when I was going to college, you just needed a degree. Didn't matter.
Yep.
And because I was a talker, I chose speech communication because I thought there would be no writing. Huh? Mm-hmm. Well, there was writing. It wasn't that bad. But my life and my success has really been circled around that degree in speech, my friendliness, and how I reach out and talk and communicate with people. So I was also, because I joined a fraternity, the concert promoter's assistant at San Diego State. And we had all the acts there, all of them. You know, we had the Kinks, We had the Kinks there. We had Pat Benatar. We had, I don't know, guys who remember the Knack, the Dixie Dregs. We had the Ramones. And my job was picking them up at the airport, making the deli tray, cleaning up, making all the flyers. So I was the guy who's doing all the ads for the fraternity. I mean, for the concerts. Well, my first direct mail campaign, I sent out 38 letters, got 3 responses, and one of those was at a little place called Bill Graham Presents. Does it sound familiar?
Doesn't sound familiar. Not to us from across the UK, but continue.
Bill Graham, Fillmore West, Fillmore East, manager of the Rolling Stones at one time.
Oh, no, when you said the Rolling Stones, that makes more sense. So Bill Graham was like an icon. I turned that into an internship at Bill Graham Presents. Okay.
When I got out of college, though, after that internship, I used to work as an extra on movies. I met a guy who was a singer in a band, and he told me that this little restaurant had a lousy marketing guy, and I picked up the phone, and I was the guy who, from Bill Graham Presents, and the concert promoter's assistant at San Diego State, and he hired me. And then 2 days later, a guy I went to high school with owned a wood stove store, and he said, "What are you doing?" I go, hey, I'm the advertising guy over at that restaurant. Well, that guy hired me to be his marketing director. So now I had 2 gigs. Right? And in time, one day he says to me, "Hey, and I was doing all their retail advertising display ads, just like the ones you'd see in your local little newspaper. And so one day he says, hey, what do you think about doing some direct mail? Here's a Kiplinger letter. Why don't you see if you can't knock it off? And I said, okay. So I spent 2 weeks writing that letter, and he looked at it, and he said, doesn't look strong enough. Do it again. Huh? We've all heard that, right?
Right, yeah.
So I spent a month writing that letter and dropped it off at the printers. And over at the printers, they had this magazine called Direct Marketing. And I stole it because in the back of that magazine, there was this group called Copywriters and Creative Directors. Mm-hmm. And people had little ads that they were the sales letter writer. And I go, that's interesting. So I joined this group called the Direct Marketing Creative Guild. Mm-hmm. And just to get the list of attendees, went to the meetings, and I started smiling and dialing, picking up the phone, and sending out samples of my stuff. So I had this one lady at a bank in San Francisco, First Savings Deposit Bank, agree, well, for me to send her some samples, and then she never returned my calls. Never returned my calls. Does that sound familiar?
That does sound familiar.
Okay. Well, one day I got her on the phone and she said, let's meet for lunch. And she pulled out this credit card conversion letter, 2 pages, and she says, how much an hour do you charge? Well, at the time, I didn't know. What do copywriters charge? $10 an hour, $15 an hour? But because they had marble and gold fixtures in the bathroom, I figured I was going to go 40 because I thought they had money. Yeah. So I said $40 an hour. I couldn't look her in the eyes. And she said, how many hours? And I went 10. And she put her arm on my shoulder and said, why don't we make it 50 an hour? $500. Okay. And I went, okay. And I walked out into the sunlight and I looked up at the heavens and I dropped my arms to the ground and I said, $500 for writing a 2-page letter. I am getting in the letter writing business. Yeah. Because I was getting paid $500 a month to listen to the BS from that restaurant owner for a whole month. And here I could make $500 to write a 2-page letter. Wow. So on that same list was a company called The Rough Times. At the time, the world's largest investment newsletter publisher at the time. Mm-hmm. And I picked up the phone and I pitched him and he hired me to write copy for them because he saw, hey, I see you could write 2- and 4-page letters, but we need guys that can write 6, 8, 12-page letters, 16-page letters.
Doug, can I just ask you a question? So I get that. I mean, what I liked straight away was the fact that you just used your own initiative. You picked up 2 gigs, you got the magazine, and then you done the old-fashioned, which I think some people are kind of scared of right now, but it still makes sense to me to do this. You got to use every resource in the book to win new business. Is that you picked up the phone, you dialed, and you smiled and you dialed, and obviously, sent them some samples. But what I wanted to ask you in your story is, were you formally trained? Did you go on any mentorship for writing direct response? Or did you have a book, or was it just some kind of natural ability with words and wordsmithery and just flowing, or I'm just trying to find if there was any kind of like musical talents where you just had this logical flow of writing that came to you naturally?
I think I always had the ability because I had saved some of my old college papers, mm-hmm. and I was always good at organization in content. But I was not good at correctness, punctuation, grammar, and all of that. I'd get B in organization, A in content, C minus D in grammar. But I didn't know that at the time. I realized that when I flashed back and looked at my stuff. But it was the initiative, self-taught with the John Caples book and other books that I can't remember right now. But I also had the guidance of a mentor, but I didn't know it at the time. excuse me. So I didn't know that I was actually being mentored when I was at the Rough Times. Now, one of the gentlemen that I worked with, he decided to go out on his own and create his own something called the Investors Club. And as a result of working with him, and it was kind of a side project that he was doing at the Rough Times with their permission, I would be working, he would reach out to these other newsletter publishers with other publications. And I'd pick up the phone, call them, and write ads for them for free as a part of being in that publication. So what happened is that as I was sitting there, I was working on every publication but the big ones, the big money makers. I was doing inserts, I was doing small direct mail stuff, and I said, well, how come I'm not working on any of those big projects? He said, because you don't have a track record. Well, what do you mean? I'm working on all this other stuff. He goes, no. You don't have a track record. I needed a track record. And nobody was going to take a risk on a new writer without a track record because there's too much time and effort involved. So in time, I took a break from copywriting. My wife suggested that I sell real estate. I was not a good real estate salesman because I just wasn't me. So after 2 years of making no money, I got back into the copywriting business. I joined, again, the initiative. I joined the Newsletter Publishers Association. I got the book. There was no internet at the time, remember? Oh, I know you guys are too young. So I went through the directory and I started smiling and dialing. And I used a breakthrough technology that nobody had ever heard of before. And it secured me every job. And that breakthrough technology was called FedEx.
Wow.
See, FedEx was brand new at the time. You know, when you got a FedEx letter, they were $25 to send out. So I get you on the phone, send you some samples over an item, bang, I sold every job. And with every job, I raised my price. $1,500, $3,500, $5,600, $6,500. At the end of the year, I ended up at Phillips Publishing, a guy named Richard Stanton Jones, and he hired me $10,000 to write a promotion for one of their top newsletters, the retirement letter. And I asked about the royalty, and the only reason I knew about the royalty was because I'd seen the contracts of the big guys who were working over at the Rough Times. And he said, absolutely not. In fact, he was from the UK.
He was from the UK,
we don't pay any writers or new writers a royalty. So, back in the day, I worked on this retirement letter promo with an idea that we had, and I would type up my copy, and I'd fax it to him, and he'd make marks on it and fax it back, and I'd retype it, and we'd go back and forth for 6 months. I didn't know I was being mentored. I didn't know it.
Okay.
But I knew it was the most important project that I'd ever worked on. And I was up early in the morning till late at night, writing, banging my head against the computer. Well, at the end of the day, when it was done, it was beautiful. The Great Retirement Betrayal. I asked for our testimonial. And he says, oh no, we don't give anybody a testimonial until after we see if it actually sells. And I said, okay. Well, 17 days later, after the results came in, Doug, you're my hero. And we are going to give you a royalty. And I went,
wow,
ka-ching, ka-ching. Now, the next one only took me 4 weeks to write. But if somebody hadn't been there really mentoring me, coaching me along, I might not be here today. I'd be doing something in sales because I was pretty good at it. And that's why, when people always ask me, hey, can you coach me? I get call requests all the time. I'm always open to coaching people. But the one thing that I really specialize in really is helping people in this business get a job. They need a job.
Right.
And there's a lot of them out there, but they just don't know who to call or what to say or how to send. And I think there's I think all of these things tie together.
Yeah.
having initiative. Because really, I was like a really mini agency. I was the account rep. I call them up, and I was the creative director. I was the copywriter. But it's the initiative.
Yeah. Yeah. Excellent. I mean, that's an interesting journey from starting off writing copy for ads that, go to, for your concerts, to going into the restaurant business, to eventually going into some of these major publishing houses like Phillips. Very, very interesting. But I think that the thing that I got out of it was you, like you're saying, and I'm sure this is probably why you're strong in this angle of being able to help new or even veteran copywriters win more gigs, is because somehow you just had the knack of like just smiling and dialing. I think that's because you do like to talk, but I do love the spin of using the FedEx, which I think at the time you said that. Did you say to me you were the pioneer of that strategy, or did you kind of?
Sure, yeah, Rob, I was the pioneer of that. yeah. No, it's just that I had no competition. Remember,
right. Mm-hmm.
I mean, remember.
Yeah.
It's hard to remember that we're in a global society, and I'm on the phone with you as if it's normal on a Skype call. Right?
Yeah.
But I was calling, remember, you got to think back, I was calling people from California, right, as the Rough Times copywriter. I overnight something, and then to get started, they needed to send me a deposit for $12,500 that they overnighted back to me, a stranger on a phone call.
Yeah.
But talk about initiative. I think that the thing, you're going to love this part. There was a guy named Denny Hatch who wrote a publication called Who's Mailing What, and when he got a hold of my piece, he thought Gary Benzavenga wrote it.
Wow.
And he got a hold of...
That's a compliment, right? That's a compliment,
Oh,
though?
yeah. He thought Gary wrote it. And this was my first time. Listen, this was a guy who hadn't even been in the minors, and I got a shot in the majors, and I hit a grand slam right out the back. So, wow. I mean, I'm really blessed. But remember, we're talking about 6 weeks. We're talking about, there's so many things going into my experience that brought me to that one date in time that allowed me to create that one piece. The number one success on that entire story was when I got a call from Denny Hatch, and he wanted to hear about how I wrote the piece. So as I wrote the piece, I told him the story. He liked the story, and he was going to publish it in his newsletter. And I said, oh, by the way, he says, yeah, I'm hearing something in the background. Can you guys hear me?
Okay.
No. Okay.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Sorry, man. I'm just plugging this in.
So Denny Hatch is writing this story, and he says, and at the end of the interview, he goes, "Hey, thanks a lot." I said, "Can you do me this one favor?" And he goes, "What's that?" He goes, "Make mine the lead article for your publication."
Yeah.
And he did. Who's Mailing What? The Great Retirement Apparel on the cover, and a funny thing happened. Got a call from Marty Edelston at Boardroom. Got a call from people at KCI.
The lives. I was just talking about
Agora and different companies, because guess what? They all wanted Doug to write for them. So a couple of things of, reaching out for opportunities, knowing what to say, know what to sell, but
nice one, bro. I'll catch you in a bit.
But I hope that your Elevation Nation enjoys that story, rather than get into some of the meat of how to get to that bridge to the next breakthrough.
Yeah, I mean that. I can see how you've linked it from the mantra right through to your story. So that's just awesome. That's awesome, Doug. I really appreciate you sharing that. What I was going to say, because obviously we know that in every type of business there's good, bad, and indifferent times. And what I want you to kind of share with our audience is probably like a war story. One of the lessons you've learned from maybe, I wouldn't say failure, because failure is sounds like permanent death, but maybe you went out and did something that didn't quite fly the way you anticipated. And that I think sometimes we learn best from our mistakes or from As I said, I don't really like the word failure, but from those kind of setbacks, shall we call it setbacks. So have you got kind of like a war story that would illuminate our listeners?
I guess one of the biggest ones that I had learned is don't take on a marketing challenge. You just set yourself up for failure. I've taken
right. Break that down, Doug. Break that down, because that's interesting. Because people like to rise to a challenge. It's like some people are just definitely motivated, and that's a challenge. I've got to rise to that challenge. But you just said something so interesting. Don't take on a marketing challenge. So break that down. Explain the Doug DAnna definition of that.
Well, we all know who Mike Tyson is, right?
Yep, I think we all do.
We all know who Conor McGregor is, right?
Yep.
So, I'm in a judo and a jiu-jitsu and wrestling, and let's just say I did a jiu-jitsu match with Conor McGregor, right? Mm-hmm. No punching, no kicking. What are the chances I'm going to come out on top? 0.
Ooh, 0. Yeah, slim.
So what happens is you take on the marketing challenge, you get paid, right? Thing doesn't work. And it had nothing to do with you. It had nothing to do with you or your copy. Because you did a great job. Because you were just trying to sell something that was just not sellable.
Interesting. But
I can give you a whole litany of products that I've worked on recently that I kept coming back to the publisher over and over with new stuff. It just didn't work. And guess what? They don't have those products anymore. And I spent an awful lot of time working on stuff that was never going to work.
Okay, got it. So, but I think the lesson there is it sometimes, if you take it from the point of view, from the copywriter's point of view, who, he or she is a hot smoking copywriter, and they think that they can just write literally anything and it should, fly out of the traps. What I would like to ask you then, what is your kind of methodology then in deciding what's a winner or potential winner, and one where you kind of look at it and it shows red flags? What would be a red flag moment where you think, this isn't a project as a copywriter or as a business person that I should take on, because it's destined to be a knockout failure?
Well, first of all, I think you need to look at the financials. Are they making any money here?
Yep.
Right?
Financial smoke signals. Okay.
Right. And number 2, see, your group is so many diverse people, and some things may or may not apply, because basically I've worked with publishers or publishing information products, and everybody thinks their stuff's good, but people drop products when they decide they can't sell them, right? So I once had the experience of working with a publisher who was selling a commodities letter. Gold, silver, real estate. Yeah. And commodities were a tough sell, but, I am up for the challenge. If there's a good idea, if there's a unique idea that can cut through all the negativity around it. I said, I was just brainstorming, looking for an idea, and the editor of the commodities letter was bearish on commodities, meaning he's the guy that recommends these things, and he can't recommend one. Mm-hmm. And he couldn't make a promise. So if you don't believe that your advice is going to make any money, then what am I supposed to write about?
Yeah. Red flag right there.
There's a red flag. So I think that's it. We all can't get winners, but I also, if they're, listen, I've been fortunate that many times I work with a new client, I write a grand slam. The second or third might not be that good, but usually the fourth or fifth are. And so if there's one thing that I've tried to do is just to be consistent. I know what works, I know what doesn't work, and I try to bring what works to somebody else and avoid the things that don't work.
Yeah.
And learn along the way. And isn't that what we all want to do?
Yeah,
burn along
absolutely,
the way.
absolutely. So Elevation Nation, I mean, Doug's just giving you pearls of wisdom there, and I think the main one there when you're looking at taking on new projects is, first of all, as good as you feel the idea may be in your mind, in your head, in your heart, and maybe the market may have responded, you've got to check out the financials. There's the big red flag, the financials, and then, as in Doug's example, they're saying that the publisher was bearish. He didn't want to recommend something, but he's telling you to write about this super duper and commodities. That's a double red flag. So just bear in mind that is gold wisdom, especially for any of you guys who are kind of just going up your entrepreneurial career, just as you go up your entrepreneurial ladder, just as you negotiate your next plan, you always look at the financials. And it's great because I mean, I said this to Doug yesterday, and it was something we talked about today that Doug reminded me about when I was speaking to Leon. Was some of the speaking test projects we had done in 2016, and Leon's a great guy, but he will ask me certain questions, and my typical response is, how big is the list? Have they made any sales? And they said, oh well, they've got 180,000 followers on Twitter. I says, oh, that's not my question. I says, how many people bought the so-called product they want us to launch? Did I hear silence? We don't want that project. That's hardware. So it's good to hear from Doug that, you know, my gut intuition in questioning is on point. So I think I'm quite old school, even though I'm still quite young, but I'm quite old school. So no, that's excellent, Doug. I really appreciate those words of wisdom that you just dropped, those knowledge bombs. So, there's something that you just mentioned that I want you to expand on, which I think even those that are not copywriters or aspiring copywriters within our community, that Doug just mentioned in the research phase, when you're doing your fact find, you're looking for this big hook, this big idea. Doug, can you give us that thought process that you would probably look to go through to probably help our Elevation Nation who might be thinking that I've got this great idea, I'm thinking of this next promotion. How should they look at it? And I'm thinking of finding kind of like a unique way of positioning themselves in a very challenging marketplace, especially with us into the Brexit. Well,
you kind of like put a whole lot of thoughts in to that one thing, so I'm not sure which one I should answer first.
All right, the big idea. Get this big idea on the table.
So now you guys sell certain stuff that I don't sell. You sell sort of, success and improving your business. Mm-hmm. And maybe you guys sell a system to do that. And it's a repeatable system, right? Mm-hmm. So you have a product called a success seminar, just like I have my product in coaching, and that's and everybody who I coach or that one product, you give them the same thing, right? You give them the same thing. You're just giving it over and over. Now, in my business of selling investment newsletters, the market changes every day.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And so you're looking for an evergreen idea that sticks. And what is going to be evergreen that'll stick? And there's certain themes that will be around, like retirement, income, fear. Mainly the ideas come from the human interaction between 2 or 3 or 4 people and a marketing team when you're throwing out ideas at each other and beating them up. One of the biggest promotions that I've had has been around for years. We keep rolling it out. Has a retirement theme to it.
Yeah.
And so I had this idea. Hey, we have this publication that we sell for $199 masthead. Follow me? Mm-hmm. So it's a subscription. Remember that term, subscription. So they subscribe to this $199 newsletters, which we discount and give away every single day, everything for $99. Follow me so far?
Yep.
So wait a minute. It's a $199 newsletter. How a subscription? How about we turn it into a membership? So for their $99 membership fee, they get the $199 newsletter free.
Mm-hmm.
You follow me? Ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. So that's an offer idea. So you got to think about what's your offer. You know, the old 40-40-20 rule. You know, your group, your offer, and your creative. And you got to explore each one of those, looking for the big idea.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's, hey, I got to read the newspaper. I got to see what's going on. I gotta talk to the editor. I gotta look at the stocks. Is it a stock story? Is it a system sell? Is it all greed? What are we looking for? What do the people want? Like I said, the bridge to your breakthrough begins at your customer's side of the river with what they want, what they believe, and it's supported by your argument, your benefits, and your proof. And following that mantra has sort of led to my biggest successes, because I always had to begin with, what does the customer want? What are they feeling? Yeah. What do they need? In fact, I would say one of my biggest successes would just be consistency.
Yeah. Yeah.
Clients are looking for people who are consistent. So the more consistent you can be, the more greater success you'll have. But on the other hand, don't be afraid to stick your neck out on an idea.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't stick your neck out on anything, it'll just be an also ran. It used to happen a lot more in the past when you thought about it in that way. I've been in the Battle Royale, and I've had head-to-head split-run tests against everybody on that list and lost to Gary Benzavenga every time. The others, I did better against. But I don't think about it. I think that everybody goes back into their own little incubator to create their own little idea that may be a better idea. There's, the concept of beating the control is great, but don't get so involved in trying to beat somebody's control for bragging rights. You just want to write the best job ad that you can. And so one of the things, and I was blessed growing up because I was able to pick up the phone on occasion and call Gary Benzavenga. Just pick his mind a little bit. He was very, very generous. I mean, this was, over 15, 20 years ago. And he used to say, these publishers beat us up. They beat us up, have us beat each other up, trying to beat each other's control. You're always going against the top guys. He said, we'd be better off just picking the 99-pound weakling and taking him on. So, right? And then it's another thing. If I know you've got a brand new strong control, why am I going to waste my time? I'm going to wait till it fatigues.
Makes sense. Make perfect sense. Because I just always wondered, because I was thinking, you'd hear certain things on podcasts, or you'd read certain things in like email blasts and stuff, and you think, right, what is it really like? Do they ever, do they ever have these UFC type?
Okay, I can't mention anybody's name, but there was one person who just took incredible joy when my copy beat this other person's copy. Loved it.
You can tell me offline, Doug.
No, that's not how I operate, but loved it. And oh, yeah. But think about it. Look, there's another copywriter who's great, and he's the guy that nobody knows about, but I know him. We would laugh about stuff all the time. So when he would be writing a package to compete with mine, I would say, call him a couple of names that says, I'd wish you good luck, but I'm not going to. And he'd say, I understand, and I'm not offended. But then I'd say, yeah, if anybody was going to be stealing my money, I'm glad it's you, but not that other guy, because we were both out to steal that guy's money. But it was all fun, and it was all friendly. I don't bear an ill will against anybody. There's enough room in this business for everybody. Everybody's got a unique style. Everybody's got a unique story. The copy that I write comes across one way. Somebody, they have another way of selling. I think one of the things that has been good for me is I can either be a storyteller or I can be a pitchman. I can write sale. I just have to put on that little chameleon hat, if that makes sense to you.
Yeah. That does make sense. Absolute sense. Because that was one of the things that I was going to ask in terms of writing, because there's some people who are great at long form, some people are great at email copy, some people are great at writing infomercials or advertorials. Did you kind of go across the board with that, or did you just stay in the kind of long form and public and financial sectors, or did you like taking on new niches or going in different forms of writing, Doug?
Well, I look at it this way. When people ask you, how long should this piece be? Mm-hmm. And I always say long enough that it takes to adequately sell them. So sometimes it can be shorter, sometimes it can be longer. But I don't see any difference between an advertorial and an email, a direct mail piece. To me, it's all the same.
Yeah.
It's all the same. It's simply a matter of coming up with a good idea, with a good concept, with a good argument that you highlight the benefits. You got plenty of proof that targets what they want, what they believe, and it connects the dots from the customer to the product. And for example, it might only take 7,000 words to sell a $49 product. Mm-hmm. It might take 10,000 words to sell a $1,000 product. Or it might take 1,500 words to sell a $5,000 product, because you're going back to people who are in your market group, who already know and trust you. So, so what you're really addressing is format.
Yeah, definitely the formats.
We test all the time. And I've got a good line. I want another $1 from you, Rob, every after you read this one. I only know what the numbers tell me. So if the numbers tell me that everybody's sending number 10 packages out there, we're going to do one of those. If everybody tells me that VSLs is what working right now, I'm gonna do a video sales letter versus HTML. So I really can't tell you which one I like the best. It's what I like the best is when I'm working with a great company with a great product and a great product manager who's full of ideas that always can't find a copywriter who can then execute his vision. Because really, in a conversation I had with Marty Edelston one time, he used to tell me, Doug, what we are looking for, what we are in search of is the truth. Right?
Yeah.
The truth. And I always like when I write my copy to look like water is running downhill with no obstacles. It just flows. Nothing gets in the way of it. It takes them off pace. Wow. So I don't know if I've bounced all over the place here on that, but I guess
no, you bounced all over the place, but in a very neat way, but in a very eloquent way, as per usual, Doug. I like your flow style. I do like your flow style. That's really interesting. So here's another question that I'd like to ask you, because you've been around for I wouldn't like to say the dinosaur, because you're still a young man, but you've been in this industry for a very long time. So I wanted to see what has been the biggest change in the industry that you've noticed over this, from when you started in the 80s to now, that maybe impacted or would benefit our community.
Well, the very first thing I would say, the biggest change is people were more collaborative when I started. Mm-hmm. People wanted to get on the phone and hash out ideas, yell at each other, scream at each other, fight at each other, to really hammer good stuff down. to rewrite, to write, to rewrite, to go back at it, to really, to really hammer these ideas through communication that took place on the phone or in person. But today, nobody wants to talk on the phone. We live in a texting, email society. And people want to just send out an assignment with, here's what we're looking for, when can you get it back?
Yeah.
So that's the biggest difference to me. And when I look for projects, I look for people who want to get on the phone, who want to talk about stuff. What can we do to get to the next level? How can we make our stuff better? And that's hard to do with an email conversation.
Yeah.
Many times I'll be on the phone with the publisher and we were laughing about stuff, talking about nothing, and the idea showed up in the last hour.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. You guys are young guys. Do you find the same thing? People want to get on the phone and talk? Do they want to?
Well, I think you're right. I think we live in this kind of high techie world instead of a high touch world. I like the high touch because I'm old school. I do like to go through and talk things through and get a feel for the person or company we're working with and the characters, because I think that's the best way for me. But we do send out kind of like an assignment draft initially, but I don't do anything without talking. Otherwise, because I'm a people person, if I don't talk to somebody, I'm like, I can't get a feel for if these guys, if we can vibe. Because money aside, money's for keeping track of things. But if we're gonna have issues that we can't thrash out or we can't really get the ideas on the table, then for me it's a no-no. Because I'm not a robot.
Well, and that's
not yet anyway.
And that's the biggest issue that really comes up with the people that I coach on the how to get the copywriting job. Is, hey, they've been on in LinkedIn, they've sent out these emails, they just don't know what to do to develop their business, and we've lived in a society with these kids growing up with text messages and emails, and nobody talks on the phone anymore, so they don't even know how to reach out. They don't know how to reach out. It's sad. It's really sad that they don't know really how to reach out and make a telephone call. It seems like it's a lost art.
It's definitely a lost art, Doug. I can second that. It's definitely a lost art. You talk to anybody, like sometimes I start my talks and says, "Who's watched Wolf of Wall Street?" And they go, "Yeah." I says, "That's the era I came from, where it was a solid cold call. It would send shivers down your spine because you did not know that person unless it was recommended. But I used to cold call. But there ain't nothing wrong with that if you know what you're doing. But most people today, they only know about warm market, or they wouldn't, they're not used to picking up the phone. And to me, it's kind of alien. It's kind of weird. I think they're missing out. And as I said to you yesterday before we jumped on the call today, I always say, the new people say, "You ever heard of junk mail?" I said, "It's called your email. It's your inbox." I said, so I said to some of my clients, "You want to do some direct mail? It's quite a good market to get into now, because the mailbox is kind of empty, but your email box is kind of full."
You're absolutely right about that. The other challenge that I tell people who I'm working with is what I call it. It's the challenge of the double sell. What I mean by the double sell is that, number one, you got to sell somebody on you, right?
Yeah.
And then you got to sell somebody on paying your royalty. Now, if you only work with people who pay royalties and commissions, then you only have a single sell. You only have to sell them on you. Yeah. In fact, years ago, I used to have this plumber who came to my house, Charlie the Plumber, and I wrote about it in my little A-list. I called it Charlie the Plumber. Had three. He established in his business. He picked his clients. He picked them. And he had three rules. Got to have fun. Got to make money. You got to be appreciated.
Amen.
So,
good rule.
And so the most important one was the appreciation. Not the money. It was the appreciation. And so that's, again, how do you then position yourself that you're just not another commodity copywriter? You're as interchangeable as a flat tire or a tire. You got it. And you can never get that unless you get on the phone and let people know who you are, show you a little bit about your personality, and then let people know that you're willing to go to whatever lengths it takes to get people, to click on the link, put the money in the envelope, and send it to you.
Ka-ching, ka-ching.
Ka-ching. Ka-ching. Ka-ching, 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 ka-ching.
Love it. I love it.
So I'm gonna wrap this up here with again, like the bridge to your next breakthrough begins at your customer's side of the river. It's supported by your wants, their beliefs, and it's strung together with your argument, your benefits, and your proof. And that's really the nugget of wisdom that I can offer today, other than there's another strategy that I've used. It's kind of like a secret strategy. Do we have time for it?
Yeah, we do. Before you give the secret strategy, I want to ask one other question because I know that you like talking. So I want to ask you this question, and then you can give us the secret strategy, and then we'll end the call, and we'll make sure people know how to get hold of you, and you can promote any product or service you wish to our audience. Because I think, guys, Elevation Nation, if you can get hold of somebody of Doug's stature and learn anything about copywriting, or if he's available for hire, then you should be literally breaking your fingers, your bank account, your hands, and going to the bank to hire this guy. But I want to ask you this, Doug. If you could have ran for dinner at your house or at any place of your choosing, top restaurant of your choosing, 3 people, living or deceased, famous or non-famous, who would those 3 people, and a brief explanation why?
Oh, well, the number one guy of all, one guy who, okay, I can't think of the other 2.
Okay, no, one's good. This will be a first.
One guy named Rob Dyrdek.
Rob Dyrdek. All right, come on, give us some more.
Okay, and if anybody knows Rob Dyrdek and can set that up, I would. Rob Dyrdek is a skateboarder, and he's had a number of different television shows on TV where him and his pals just do a bunch of bizarre stuff. It's just, I thought he would be like a cool guy. It's just kind of a cool guy to hang out with. If he's a skateboarder, an actor, and he's had a couple of television shows called Rob and Big. He had the Dyrdek Fantasy Factory, where he ran he had an in-store skate plaza and a bunch of goofy personnel, and he was just kind of a cool guy. I just thought he would kind of be he'd be kind of funny, because I always laughed watching that show with my kids.
Okay, phenomenal. That's excellent. I've never heard of the guy, but I'm gonna go and Google him.
Yeah, the other one, which I'd love to have a conversation with, was my Grandpa Joe. Okay. Grandpa Joe was a very successful haberdasher. He was a clothing salesman who quit at 49, retired, and then somebody called him not homeless or a beggar, but unemployed or a ne'er-do-well because he didn't have a job. And so, what are you doing? And I sell real estate. So he went into the real estate business and was very successful at that. Sadly, he died when I was in college, about 22, but I would have loved to have had an adult conversation with him. You know what I mean?
Wonderful.
I'd have my buddy Bob, who passed away about 4 or 5 years ago, we ran together. We formed the Dirty Dads Club, me, Bob, and Ben. Ran marathons together, went out for breakfast together. I know that I'm not sure Grandpa Joe would enjoy Rob Dyrdek, but I know Bob would have. Yeah, I think those would be good. There are, I'm sure there are others, but that'd be, I'd have my dad back again. But just to, in fact, especially for Grandpa Joe, because he used to say, I'm not worried about your brother, but I'm worried about you. So I can say, hey, Grandpa, you were good in real property, but we should have worked on going into intellectual property.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
you probably would have sold you.
And so I guess that kind of leads me to my super secret that I share.
Go on. Yeah, let's say the super secret, and then we'll close out the show and tell people how to get hold of you.
Be nice. Just be nice. Be a nice guy.
Mm-hmm.
Be nice to everybody you meet, because you don't know if one day that marketing assistant is going to be the publisher. And help coach everybody along that you meet too.
Wow.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, my life is, I'm not going to be laying on my deathbed going, oh, gee, I want to write one more package.
Yeah.
Have fun. Make this a fun business. I'd never worked a day in my life, to be honest with you. Never worked a day in my life because it was all fun. Make it fun. Be nice. Learn your craft. Reach out to people. Don't be afraid to pick up the phone. Learn from your failures and use that split run test to live your life. Avoid the things that don't work and do the things that do work.
Yeah. That's excellent. Thank you very much for sharing that, Doug. So, Elevation Nation, what an episode with a living legend. I want to thank Doug DAnna for taking time out for this interview for the Elevation Nation, and they, along with us, really appreciate it. If somebody wants to get in touch with you, Doug, what is the best website, social media platform that they can get hold of you? And if you've got anything that you want to promote here that you feel will be beneficial for the Elevation Nation, let them have it.
Well, you can always go to my website, which needs some help, DougDanna.com, DougDanna.com. You can always write me at DougDanna, DougDanna at mac.com, mac.com. And if you're, if you're a young copywriter, you're trying to, make it in your world, you need some coaching on how to sell yourself, I have a little coaching program I offer. I have one DVD I sell off of my website. It's 20 years old, but it's as relevant as it is today. It's on how to write long copy that makes money. That's really the best way to get a hold of me. Everybody who calls is a friend. Clearly, I can't. I had to get it back and figure out what new lie I'm going to have to tell today. You get people money in envelopes. But like I say, I don't take this. Look, this is a great business. That's all I can finish with. It's a great business. I've had a great success. I wish everybody the same kind of success. One day at a time. It's one day at a time. I look forward to hearing and reading about other people's success. And if you can, like I said, if you want a copy of my little graphic, The Bridge to Your Next Breakthrough, just drop me an email again at DougDanna@mac.com. And
so, that's fantastic. And before we close out, just so that these guys can get an idea, because obviously you told me a story yesterday, why you were in the top echelons of the copywriting fraternity because of your consistency. I mean, not to say that you're waning. I like to just say in the height of your powers, because everybody has these peak times, right? And we know the industry changed a lot. If you want to share that is like, what kind of money you personally were earning from the promotions and the packages that you were writing for some of your clients, if you want to share that, because you shared it with me yesterday. But if you don't want to share it,
I don't know really how appropriate that is, but I just as soon not share that. But if you go to my website at DougDanna.com,
it says it, right? Okay. Cool. So once again, thank you for listening. Elevation is through your support and your continued growth that we bring you more great guests like Doug. So could you please leave us a 5-star review on iTunes and Stitcher, and we will continue to elevate you. And this is a first, I think we're probably one of the, I don't know, I've not asked Doug if anybody else from the UK has ever interviewed him on a podcast. I hope we are the first, if not at least the second, but hopefully we may be the first. I don't know. Doug, have you ever been interviewed by any UK podcasters?
I may have. I just have to think about it.
You have to think about it. Okay, cool.
To answer that question, yeah, okay. I went from making $500 a month in one restaurant account to over $500,000 in billings per year. So it's all possible.
It's all possible, Elevation Nation. And I want to get all possible. And normally, as you know, as in tradition with our show, we like to have a final word. And normally, between me and Leon, we would scramble for that final word. But you probably guessed that Leon's disappeared like a puff of smoke. So it's just been me riding solo with Doug. However, which is very unusual, I'm going to give Doug the final word. And I think the final word should be just to cement, from the beginning he started with his mantra of the bridge over the river. I'd like you, Doug, to finish our show with that little story, and then we'll say salute to the Elevation Nation, and we'll catch you on the next show. So, Doug, over to you for the closeout. The final word is with Doug DAnna.
Oh, Rob, anybody who knows me knows that there's never a final word with Doug DAnna. There's never, but I'll get to that final word. But along with having a great time in this business, I also exercise a lot. And I created a little website that people are willing to join called Team Dougosaurus. It's for seasoned athletes. I have a Facebook site. Feel free to join and upload all the pictures of you exercising and working out, because working out is good for keeping your mind clear and clean and writing great copy. So, in any case, it's the bridge to your next breakthrough. It begins on the customer side of the river, and it's supported by the customer's wants and beliefs, and so also supported by your argument, your benefits, and your proof. And again, if you want a copy of that graphic, I'll send you a copy at Doug DAnna. Just write me at dougdanna@mac.com. And my greatest, sincerest wish is that you put that together and put it on your wall and use it every time you begin to start writing copy. I want to thank you guys for having me today. And like I said, I could talk all day. But Rob, we got to go.
We got to go. Thank you very much, Doug. It's been a pleasure.
Alrighty. Talk to you soon. All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Until next time, Elevation Nation, visit www.businessownerelevation.com and keep soaring to new and higher heights of productivity and profitability.